You are now tuned in to the Dokusou Cast, a unique Nintendo podcast with your wonderful co-hosts, Gregg
and Rick.
Welcome. This is our first pilot kickoff. It's hard to believe that we're actually here doing this now. There's been a lot of, preparation going into this, but it's just kind of surreal that we're actually doing it. Like, this isn't even a test. This is it.
Yeah, it's about time, man. It's about time. We've been, I think us collaborating has been a long time coming.
And the collaboration part, really speaks to me especially, and we'll go more on depth in that in a minute. But how are you feeling right now? This is it.
I'm feeling good, man.
Yeah.
It was fun to get here. It's fun. The journey that we've been through, it's a lot of reflection. I feel like I've been looking in the mirror a lot, what you've been wanting out of a podcast and what I've been wanting. So I think it's going to be interesting, and I'm very excited to see where we go.
And, I think it's only reasonable that I kick us off here with a small but really fun quote, which can kind of correlate here. A delayed game is eventually, or I already butchered it. Miyamoto's, what he said, a delayed game is eventually a delayed game is eventually good, but a rush game is forever bad. So we definitely didn't want to rush this whole process here. And I think we're going to be making something really beautiful here. I'm excited.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, that's a pretty dope quote, and it's pretty true when it comes to games.
Absolutely, which, being that this is a Nintendo podcast, we're definitely going to have to get a lot more in depth in talking about the kinds of games and things like that. But, yeah, man, the Dokusou Cast.
Yeah, I think we need to kind of hit that elephant out of the room. I'm sure there's probably people listening going, what are you saying?
So, to kind of clarify to all of you listeners out there, the Dokusou Cast, Dokusou is Japanese, and it has a really strong meaning and kind of like, theme for this podcast that we're going to be starting here for all of you guys that you'll be tuned into and enjoying from us. And we'd like to just kind of explain a little bit more of the context about what it means. So, Rick, maybe you want to just kind of kick us off here on what that is?
Yeah. So Dokusou, if you Google it, it'll come up as, it translates to originality, ultimately, right? But we've gotten another meaning because even in the Japanese culture, so many words, actually any culture, like words can have like 5 different meanings for that matter.
Right.
And so there's one particular point of view meaning that we really leaned into, and kind of like what Greg said, it's what really set the tone, inspiration for this cast. And it was originally quoted by, who quoted it, Greg?
Mr. Satoru Iwata, the late fourth president of Nintendo.
Yeah, so when we got together to collaborate, we were running ideas back and forth, and we were coming up with the name and what did we really want the cast to really represent, outside of Nintendo. And
I think, there's a lot of really great podcasts out there. I'm sure many of you who are listening to this right now has probably stumbled upon, quite a few. And, but I think the goal for us was to make something, spoiler alert, unique. And it was challenging for us to find something that spoke to us, that was different, but was still had us feeling empowered, feeling like we believed in this, that this was going to be the direction that we were going to take. And so we stumbled upon the Dokusou Cast, in which Dokusou, as you mentioned, translates into originality. But as I said a little bit ago, spoiler alert, unique, which I think we have a cool little clip here that we could play.
Yeah. So to set up the clip, as we were trying to figure out like what we're going to call it, I told Greg, I want a deep cut, like something that, not everyone would know, especially like hardcore Nintendo fans. So when I said that, what do you call it? Greg over here got like a freaking Mario superstar over his head, and he's like, boom, I know exactly what we got to do. So he pulled up the pre-E3 2012. It was before Nintendo did Nintendo like Directs, right?
Yes,
and,
exactly. Right.
Mr. Iwata he did it pre-E3 because he wanted to showcase the Wii U, the Nintendo Wii U, the hardware and everything of what it was. And in the beginning of that, this is where he was really setting the tone and establishing, the uniqueness of Nintendo, because if you know what a Wii U is, you can tell that was a very unique console when it came out.
Exactly.
In a sense. So
you could say that Iwata was very much leaning into that theme, right? That it was so unique to make it stand out. But, for a company known for colorful, outstanding, memorable, magical games, even, it was the sense of this was the direction that drives the company and everything that they do, from, product design, management, to marketing, to development, everything of the sort. So, yeah,
it had to be unique, had to be, different from the competitors, which Nintendo has definitely proven that time and time again. But in this presentation, as Mr. Wata was explaining, what's to come, he's in a room, the 7th floor of the Nintendo headquarters, and he has like an image behind him that's the Japanese characters of Dokusou. And he goes off to explain what it is. So this clip that we're about to play right now is literally a clip from that E3 presentation, and it's Mr. Iwata explaining what Dokusou is.
There is something here which is quite significant. These are the Japanese character for Dokusou. This is a term which has guided Nintendo since the early days of the company, when Mr. Hiroshi Yamauchi was president. In English, it means creating something unique.
Beautiful words from the late president Satoru Iwata from Nintendo, who has since passed away shortly after, I think in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. I apologize. This is all just, coming off the top of my head here. But yeah, I think when you described it earlier as like literally like a coin block or like a light bulb illuminated, that's quite literally what happened. It really struck to me like this is something that quite literally the man who led this company felt was worth mentioning to its consumers. I mean, this is a E3 show. But I mean, we normally you'd be talking about the product at hand. Let's get you going. Let's get you excited. Let's play the games. But it's kind of nice to like slow down for a minute and recognize that Nintendo is a very Japanese company, and Japanese business model and the way that they maneuver and navigate through all markets and territories that they sell and produce to. It's very art. It's very much, it's beautiful. It's elegant. And so when thinking of something different, unique in this case here, that was quite literally the word to use. I just went, oh my gosh, I have to do this because that is Nintendo. And Nintendo speaks volumes to me in a multitude of ways beyond just even the games, but the culture, the way that they, their work ethic, their environments, the inclusivity, everything that they do and preach, in their products and advertising and just the branding as a whole. It just came right to that moment. So I just felt like it was important, to use.
No, I agree. I mean, Nintendo, to those that really are like Nintendo fans and really into it, like Nintendo is either you're new to it or it's been in your life for a long time. So, like for me, Nintendo's been around since, I think pretty much 32 years, with the original NES, which was the first one that I got down with, Duck Hunt, Mario,
right?
Gotcha, TMNT, man. Like, I mean, again, I was like super young, like 3, 4, but it wasn't until the Super Nintendo that really like hit me, and that is like the console that has a big staple in my life because I learned a lot from those games. Learned a lot from playing the Super Nintendo, from eye-hand coordination to just problem solving to reading and things like that. So, I mean, to this day, I think I would confidently say the Super Nintendo is my favorite console over anything, even PlayStation, Xbox, PC. Like,
yep, 100%.
35 years later, still rocking and rolling.
It's quite crazy to think about. Like, and to piggyback off what you were saying, like the Super Nintendo was such a impactful console, and just to give you guys some context here, my generation is a little different from Rick's, which we're going to get into a little bit more in depth in a bit. So look forward to that in just a little bit. But the Super Nintendo was an impactful console. I mean, it quite literally took what set the world on fire with the NES, the traditional directional pad, and the two, A and B buttons. And it just expanded upon it and made it seem more accessible and more engaging. I can't speak from personal experience of what that launch was like, as I am a 96 baby. So I guess this is a perfect cutaway to go ahead and talk about the fact that, Rick and I have a little bit of a generational gap in how we've experienced Nintendo. And that kind of also plays into a little bit here of what makes this cast here so unique, is that you have two very different, but also similar at the same time, perspectives on how we look at Nintendo and how we look at games, how we've enjoyed them, and what speaks to us, and what we think the future even of the company has in store for us. Even they can go into some great lengths, but the 64, was arguably, I think, the console that really stuck out to me as of course being born, that I'm born in 96. The Mario 64, I think, had launched that year, which is kind of wild to think about. Mario 64, I'm just as old. Games, Nintendo's incredible. I mean, I love the 64, and I think it was interesting because, I'm saying the 64 was probably the console that definitely defined for me, because that's the one that was, of course, closest to me in my home. But I also had, other family and friends that also had the Super Nintendo when I was being first exposed to games as well. So it was kind of hard to say which one specifically, but since the 64 being in my home directly was, that's the one that spoke to me. So, yeah. Yeah,
man. I don't know. It's been a trip. Even 64 does play a big role. I mean, that's where I played a big role in my life as well. I remember, my older brother, him and his buddy, they scavenged a few bucks and walked all the way to Walmart just to get. Yeah, man. Back then, I mean, he was a teenager during this time, so walked all the way to Walmart, picked up an N64, came back. Didn't allow me to play it because it was older brothers, so got to keep the little brother out of the rooms.
Right.
But just the scene, I think at that point, it was really much more the generational jump of the gaming consoles that really stood out.
Right.
It went from the 2D that we're so used to, top view in some cases, to this whole 3D thing. And I mean, at that point, it was what can we really do besides making the games look even better?
My dad described it to me as opening a third eye. Like the Eye of Agamotto, I guess, if you could say.
Like Doctor Strange.
For any of you Marvel fans out there, yeah, right. He quite literally described it to me as when he saw it in a mall, I guess. There was a big showcase of it, and there was people all crowded around just dying to play it, and he saw it from afar, and he's like, whoa. And of course, I couldn't be there to tell you, but I mean, the amount of research and, YouTubing I've done to see what, kind of what things people have had to say, even footage from back in the day. I've even watched on YouTube old news stations reporting on this wicked new console, control a 3D character in real time. That's, the way they described it, to me is that's pretty cool, right? Yeah. But I mean, to probably people like you or my father or other people in that time period, it's yeah, this is some serious stuff. This is huge. So, I think for me, the biggest thing about Nintendo, with, each console is that it is so unique, right? Hence, which is why it kind of, goes right back to Dokusou, creating something unique. You started with the NES, and then you go Super Nintendo and 64, GameCube, Wii U, each one leading up to where we are now with the Nintendo Switch. And then I forgot to mention handhelds, of course, but you get what I'm saying. Is each one strives so hard to make such a big, unique jump and make a creative experience. I don't think this is anything like your traditional, let me just, hook up a controller, throw on a headset and play a game or two. If 3D was the big jump from 64, and then GameCube was going to be, the bigger jump in graphics, but then Wii being such an engaging, family-friendly, such a wild, different, experience. I mean, yeah, I feel like that yeah, it's just each console's so unique. It's wild to think about.
Yeah. What I like most about the uniqueness of each console is that every single time they reinvented the controller for them.
Right.
That's what I really admire, because it's like, for me, the gamepad, game controller, whatever you call it, like the pinnacle of controllers was the Super Nintendo controller. Mm-hmm. And then after that, PlayStation released theirs, which, to be fair, for PlayStation, Nintendo and PlayStation were supposed to create a console together, but that fell through. The Sony, the
Nintendo PlayStation. I've seen the prototype in person, by the way, at where we're from, SAC Gamers Expo. So that would be Sacramento, California. They had the original owner of the one and only known surviving Nintendo PlayStation prototype, functional, by the way. I got to see that in person. So that was a trip.
It was cool because, you see that. So once they, Sony improved on the controller, and then they added dual sticks and made it even more, Nintendo was like, okay, what can we do differently? And then when they dropped the 64, you had the, looked like a little spaceship type of controller. And then even when they went to GameCube, they still had its uniqueness to it. And then we went to the Wii, and that was super unique.
Right.
And then Wii U, that was unique for its time.
Sure.
Super underappreciated. I'll tell you that much too, because every game that's on the Wii U is like pretty much slightly redone for the Switch.
Right.
But now we're at the Switch with the Joy-Cons, which, ironically enough, it's more in line with the traditional controller now, more so the Xbox controller, of the separation of joysticks. But my question, since we're kind of on the uniqueness, and just top of my head just popped up, where do you think Nintendo's going to go from the Switch? Do you think they're going to do anything new? Because it's so popular, it's everywhere. It's the only thing you can really improve on it is making it stronger, unless they go a whole 180 and make a whole new console that's different. But I don't see them doing it. I mean, console's 10 years old now?
The Switch?
Yeah, it's 7.
Oh, yeah, we're coming up on the 6th or 7th year.
Oh,
now.
7? Okay.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking of Mario Kart. Because it's the same one from the Wii U. That's like a 10-year game that hasn't changed. Mario Kart 8.
That's a nearly 10-year-old game, right?
8 or 9.
9 years old, I think, give or take. I don't know. I'll have to fact check that later. But
where do we go? Where does Nintendo go from here, man?
Well, what's funny is, like, we're talking about how each console and each controller, each gameplay experience is, unique and different, right? But it's memorable, to me, with each one being something that really stands out. Side note, had to throw this in there really quickly. Who do you think at Nintendo, in their QA team, their quality assurance team, approved the 64 controller? Did they just have a third arm or something like that?
They had another hand just popped up.
Right. They're just like, here you go, 3 hands. Oh, perfect, it works.
I feel like they made the controller like part of it, and they said, no, it still needs a D-pad. And they're just like, all right, we'll figure out how to throw it on there.
Well, perfect. Just ship it. It's 3 months till shipped it. Just do it.
Just do it.
But but to answer your question, I think what's kind of cool is, like, I think Nintendo has recognized that you can still deliver a unique experience, but still deliver on a solidified experience that anyone could recognize and pick up. And I'm literally holding my Switch right here, right now. And this, to me, just feels like a very enlarged Game Boy, right? And Game Boy, just like the NES, traditional D-pad, 2 buttons. How can you go wrong, right? You do, of course, on the Joy-Cons here have more buttons than you would on a Game Boy, right? But, the concept's the same. It's one solid unit, right? But then, hey, we got to throw some uniqueness in there. We got to make it different. How do we enhance the gameplay experience beyond it just being a solid controller? And that's what the Joy-Cons did, right? Breaking it apart, docking handheld, combining the motion. The Switch, in my honest opinion, is a love letter of everything, the Nintendo fans have loved over the last 30 years or more, So I think at this point, when you move forward with a successor, a successor to a nearly 120 million selling console. I think it's now, the 4th or 3rd best selling console of all time on the whole NPD charts, if I'm not mistaken now. According to the last quarterly fiscal meeting that Nintendo had, I'm pretty sure it's up at about 120 million. So to create a successor to that, given the response from the fans and, just overall average general consumers, right? And how impactful of an experience this has been for them. I think maybe they're recognizing it's okay to kind of keep, something traditional. I mean, I think even something as simple as a revamped Switch 2, I'm not going to make any, hypothetical names or anything like that, but like, I think an updated Switch, successor that is a quality of life update, which we, I guess, kind of got with the OLED, but not the fullest extent of what, people would, the core fans, I guess, would want, right? Like, which I guess would be 4K enhancements, right? A little bit more power for, higher end performance, things like that. But I don't know. Something that keeps what this is, because you quite literally combined your handheld and your home console market into one, right? That's what the Switch is. So I think to do a 180 and go back to like a traditional home console might be a little bit of a odd curveball for Nintendo, and I don't know if exactly they want to go that route.
Yeah, I think they'll stay with it, and that's why I bring that up, because I think at this point it's more of just giving us more in what it already has. So whether it be like just improved Joy-Cons or stronger, hardware where it can support, even though I did read a report not too long ago, it was an interview for Tears of the Kingdom for Legend of Zelda, and I forgot who said it, but they said that they still haven't even reached the full potential of what the Switch can do. So that was very alarming to me, because I'm like, really? Because I played Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and that looked like it hit its peak. But real quick, to go back to what you were saying a little while ago, Nintendo Switch is now the third highest.
Third highest. Okay, yeah. There you go.
PlayStation 2 is at 159 million. The Nintendo DS is 154.02, and then Nintendo Switch is 122.55. They surpassed the Game Boy and Game Boy Color.
Wow. So I mean, that just goes to show, like, the response to this is, overwhelming. It's great. I mean, if they were to keep the Switch, in the market for at least another like year or so of relevance per se, because it seems like that things are like kind of like,
it fluctuates with software.
Yeah, right. It seems like, to me, Tears of the Kingdom is their last big hoorah on this thing, right? I wouldn't even be surprised if they put Tears of the Kingdom on a hypothetical successor, right? But as it's been with Zelda tradition in the last couple consoles, right? We got the same treatment, kind of, right? Twilight Princess, GameCube, and then Wii U didn't have an exclusive Zelda at all. Breath of the Wild, then it got put on the Switch. So, I mean, anyway, what I'm saying is, I think if there was another year of relevance for the Switch, it could quite easily, I think, be on par. I mean, PS2 would have some competition for dominating that number one spot.
I'd be extremely surprised if Nintendo announces a new console in the next 2 years.
So you're saying within
the next 2 years, I don't think I'd be very surprised if they actually announce it, because we've been harping for it, we've been wanting it, and I'm sure there's something in the works. There's some prototype somewhere,
of course.
But the fact that we're 6-7 years, we said,
approximately
into the Nintendo
2017. So yeah, about 6 years in. Yeah,
I like how we just took a pause. And we
used our fingers to count. That tells you our age, everybody. We cannot do math.
You can't do the maths.
I think we need some Big Brain Academy.
Yeah, dude. Yep. So I mean, I don't know. The thing too is, I don't see them, if they make it the next console, like you said already, I don't see them deviating from the Switch. If anything, they're just going to make something that's stronger but still plays all the Switch games.
Right. And when you have such a big install base of units out there, that's what drives your software. Yeah. I mean, you have 120 million units out there, right? Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, a nearly 10-year-old game, like you said just a moment ago, is still selling to this day.
And they're still providing DLC.
And they're still providing, because they don't have to do it.
They don't have to make a new one.
They really don't.
The formula is great.
And it's a solid game. I mean, how do I feel about it about nearly 10 years later? I'm ready for a new Mario Kart. But I mean, I like the DLC. I think it's a fun refresher. But like, what I'm trying to say is like, to your point, yeah, I mean, they really could rock this boat for another 2 years and be okay. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, if they were to do a successor, I don't think it would stray too far away from what the Switch already is, because it's already doing so well.
Well, Nintendo's already done it. And so when we and you're gonna laugh and probably hate this, but when Nintendo finally does it, we're gonna repeat history because that's just how the world works, and we're gonna get the new Nintendo Switch.
How did you see? So you guys have to understand, like, Rick and I have actually known each other now for, what has it been, like, about 6 years?
Longer than the Switch.
Longer than the Switch. Yeah, you're right.
So
about 7,
about
8.
halfway through, so probably 2013. I mean, we knew each other before the Wii U came out, right?
I think
or
so.
a year after the Wii U came out?
A little bit.
So we'll say 20, we'll just say 2014. So
sure.
almost 10 years.
Right. And we've worked together in a fellow game box retailer that you all probably know and love.
I don't know about love.
I don't know about love, but you know.
maybe one time, like when back in when the Wii U first came out.
Right.
Oh God, I was there for that launch. How
was that launch?
So the biggest issue with the Wii U was people didn't understand how it worked.
Right.
And there wasn't really enough information.
Right.
To do it. And let me rephrase that. I said there wasn't enough information. There was plenty of information. The problem was, pardon my French, this is, side note at this point, this podcast is safe for work, so we're definitely going to not, make it.
No slander
no slander, things like that. But no. I will say, at this point in time, when it came to the Wii U, people
were confused.
Let's just say, you know what? Let's just say they were ignorant.
Let's
say that. Because they literally thought it was what the Switch is. They thought it's just it's a handheld. It's this controller.
It's just an accessory for your
handle.
Wii.
Yeah.
Right.
So there was just a lot of confusion, and they didn't really understand how it worked. That's why I say, like, the Wii U was very undervalued. Like, to me, the Wii U at the time with what it was PS4 and Xbox One?
Yeah.
It didn't have the best graphics to compete with those consoles, but it did have really good graphics finally after jumping from the Wii. Like, there was a massive jump in hardware capability.
Sure.
And so for me, the Wii U was very strong, but again,
strong amongst this Nintendo core fan base,
Yeah.
right? The people who are fans and followers of Nintendo absolutely loved it, but to the general audience who wanted to go, what's the next Wii or the next Mario Kart machine? It didn't kick off for them.
The Wii, Nintendo introduced got a lot of fans that were casual gamers with the Wii.
Right.
And this is why, if you haven't gone for now, that's why we kind of expressed where we come from, where we started with Nintendo. We didn't start 5 years ago and all of a sudden I got a Switch and I know everything about Nintendo now. And we've been rocking since the very beginning in our 8-bit days, 36, 64-bit over here.
Right.
But yeah.
Right.
So yeah, it was just that. And I mean, and like I said, I had a Wii U. I thought it was great. Actually, I still have a Wii U.
Me too.
As a matter of fact, I need to buy a couple games before March 27th, now that we're officially about to enter March now, because they're closing the shop.
I'll make a bullet point on that. I got some thoughts on that for later too.
Yeah, and there's going to be some what you need to buy, what we recommend.
Exactly.
So jot it down.
Yeah,
but
yeah, what we were saying, like, to track it back to, the...
Well, I was getting back to how the launch went. So that's how the launch went. It's just they didn't know what worked, and it was just very, very unique. And you can now see, like, the Switch literally is what the Wii U was supposed to be. And now you look at all the games, a good chunk of the games that are awesome on the Switch, they're Wii U games. And it was just so undervalued. People didn't appreciate the Wii U.
Didn't even know about them to some extent. Yeah.
They were like, oh, let's look at this new Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, or look at the Zelda game, or
Hyrule Warriors.
Super Mario 3D World. Like,
a lot of people love 3D World, but just had no idea.
Yeah.
Right?
So the marketing was there, but just people were ignorant, and that's why the Wii U, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is probably the worst selling Nintendo console today. And it really shouldn't be, but it's just people didn't know.
Yeah. Well, thanks for filling me in on that launch, because I was not there for that. So, but it's the reason we even got askew into that whole launch topic was because we once used to work together.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of discussion prior to this cast, which would go over our, thoughts, opinions, and, our analysis on Nintendo, things that are coming, things that they should or shouldn't do and whatnot. And so that's why Rick knew, like, calling it history repeating itself, a new Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, you didn't like that.
No, I mean, like, it's cool on paper. Like the new Nintendo 3DS, the new 3DS XL, new 2DS. Okay, now you're just being ridiculous. Like you had too many models to explain. It was, it was a clustered mess.
Yeah, it made work hard.
Right. No, right. Now, when you but it's genius at the same time though, because when somebody says new Nintendo 3DS or hypothetically new Nintendo Switch, yeah, it's the new one, right? Yeah. But
in terms of buying brand new,
right? Exactly. But in terms of buying brand new from a box retailer, right? Target, Best Buy, GameStop, Amazon, wherever, right? Costco, I don't care. You say, I want to get the new Nintendo Switch. Well, we have a brand new one, right? No, I want the new one, but this isn't new. It hasn't been opened. There could be some miscommunication there, and that's why I'm like, ooh, you are smart, Nintendo, but that is so dumb. Like that's just it. Well, it's not dumb. It's a pain for those that have to explain this.
And that's why I believe that considering history with 3DS, 3DS XL, new 3DS. And then you go into Wii U. If they make another Nintendo Switch, they're going to keep the Switch name. They're going to keep the good old sound there, and it's going to be they'll either subtitle it new Nintendo Switch or Nintendo
Super
Switch 2
Nintendo
or
Switch.
Super, which I would absolutely love.
I would love that. Because to me, with that, it's like
going back to the roots.
It's going back to the roots because the NES, now you're playing with power, right? And that took the world by storm, right? Especially in the Western market where the gaming whole market was about to die, because it was so oversaturated, right? But Nintendo came in and said, no. You want a Nintendo Entertainment System and then Super Nintendo. And you're like, now you're playing with power, super power. It's like, yes, that's empowering me to feel like I'm elite as all heck. So if I had a Super Nintendo Switch, dude, I'm baller. I need that, right? So that gets me excited just thinking about it. So I would love if they go back. That gives me a chance to live my own history of Super Nintendo. To kind of go back on what we were saying earlier, I would be all up for that. See, but that makes more sense though than new Nintendo Switch because that is a distinction. That is what that is. And either way though, the new branding for 3DS was genius because it made people go, this is the new one, and it sold like hotcakes. It was a popular 3DS. In fact, if anything, I think it made it more popular.
Yeah.
They tried to put on the whole exclusive things on the new line of 3DSs, exclusive like Minecraft or Xenoblade and Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors.
Super Nintendo games.
That's right. Super Nintendo games on the eShop and things like that. But I don't know. In general, that just made that as a whole just made you go, ooh, I want that. And it was a faster performing machine too. So I think that was just
and it had another joystick.
It had another joystick, which I have.
It was a nub.
It
still worked well though.
I call it the little well, I don't know if that's appropriate here, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's a nub, right? Yeah, right there.
You were gonna say nipple.
Yeah, okay, he said it. hey, man, I'm trying to keep it a little PG in here.
That's inappropriate. PG-13, bro. It's okay.
Okay,
just don't go past the R.
You're. Okay, back on track here. I have a black new Nintendo 3DS from Black Friday a couple years ago, if you remember. Or not even a couple, gosh.
It's been forever.
Gosh, I hate this.
7 years.
Yeah, back in 2013, 14-ish, right? They had on Black Friday the white and black Mario Edition 3DSs, and that was the only time the black models ever sold in the West. It was just for that period.
Or the 2DSs. The new 2DSs. They were the black and where you can change the face, you can change the covers.
New Nintendo 3DS, not 2DS. So that was a...
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was thinking of the XL, just it's not the XL one.
Not the XL. It was regular. Yeah, I had the right, which was actually pretty rare here in the Western market. I had the small black one. It had the colored face buttons on it too, which were really nice, the ABXY. And I love that thing. I still play it every now and then to this day. There's some really good games on there that I just go, yes, I've got to play. Which
I have it on the side of my bed upstairs in my nightstand.
Beautiful. I
was playing Samus Returns last night.
Gosh, why didn't they put that on Switch?
It is. You got Dread.
It's
Dread. The same thing.
But yeah, true. Mercury Steam and all. But
Did you know, super off topic, but did you know there's a concept art within Metroid Samus Returns that you can unlock that literally hints to Dread 4 years before Dread was even announced?
And that's why I love Nintendo, man. That's why I love these games. Just because, like, if you look deep enough, you will find the stuff you're looking for.
Oh, yeah, they got Easter eggs for days.
There's probably something right now on the Switch that's like, hey, surprise, here it comes, and nobody's found it yet. There's things that we discovered even today before we were even doing this podcast, like Totaka's song. That's like, a secret hidden 19-note song that's within, many of different Nintendo games.
I gotta find it, but I think I'm pretty sure I saw it on YouTube, but there's a YouTube video that shows every Zelda game has an Easter egg that hints to the next Zelda game.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild is a dead giveaway. It's the same world.
I'll look it up and I'll have to share it on our socials, but apparently every Zelda game literally has an Easter egg to the next, even Tears of the Kingdom, like, even though it's a continuance, like, the core story of what it is, it's already like heavily established in Breath of the Wild. But I mean, that was already planned intent. But if I remember correctly, like Twilight Princess had a teaser of Breath of the Wild, where to the point where I think it was the Wii U remastered one that they did. They actually incorporated
Twilight Princess
when they redid it for, I think it was Wii U. They actually had concept art of Breath of the Wild in it.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I wasn't never made aware of that. Then again, I am one of the rare few. That is one of the rare Zelda games that I actually did not get at launch, unfortunately. So I didn't get to play. I did play it, but I played it much later after Wii U has pretty much its life cycle ended. Which is it was fun. But I didn't know that. That's cool. That's really awesome. But while we're on the topic of games, and things that we've played and whatnot, I've been actually wanting to ask you, what would you say, and feel free to ask me back this question too, what would you say are some games or franchises that really define you, within Nintendo? Within
Nintendo, I mean, so this is kind of like my favorite franchises. So if you're curious, like, all right, we know you like Nintendo and that's cool. I mean, granted, I play all video games. I'm a gamer. I'm not Sony, PlayStation, Nintendo fanboy. I play everything, but keeping it with Nintendo, there's a couple games that growing up have a big staple. So obviously the Legend of Zelda series is huge. Yes. Like, grew up with that. A Link to the Past, one of my all-time favorites. Everyone puts Ocarina of Time up there, which rightfully so, but it's really just a 3D version of A Link to the Past. Like,
I'm the one that told you that.
I told you that long time.
I told you that.
Oh my god. We had this debate. You told me it wasn't, and I went into detail with the pendants. I went in detail with the 8 maidens. Like, I told you.
No way.
Yes, you're thinking you had a discussion with somebody else, friend.
No way.
Yes,
I literally had this discussion. I'm so spot on serious. Like,
I put it on my grandparents, anybody, my kids, my wife, everybody, bro. You could ask my brother and them, like, when Ocarina of Time first came out, after seeing him beat it, because my brother beat it first, I literally said, this is A Link to the Past. Like, back in 1997, 98, bro. You were a toddler.
I wish you guys could, I wish there was a time machine right now, because I want you all to, really understand how frustrated I am, because we've had this conversation before. And by the way, you're going to experience this a lot as you continue to listen to this cast, so prepare for some shouting and prepare for some very passionate arguing here, but, hey, respectfully and politely.
You need to stay in your Smash Bros. Realm.
Whoa!
Legend of Zelda.
Spoilers!
Legend of Zelda is... that's my baby, bro. Like, through and through, 100%. So, anyways, A Link to the Past has always been my favorite, Zelda game. Even pretty much till now, because again, I grew up with Super Nintendo. After that, the Metroid franchise gets no love. Finally, it's starting to get love. Got a little bit of love in the mid 2000s. Now it's getting a little bit of love.
Prime Remaster is off the shelves everywhere you look right now, which is like, what? You care?
I think that was more Nintendo wasn't expecting people to buy it.
That's fair. I mean, it seems that way.
They did announce that they're going to make more, so they're like, don't buy it for $100.
Right.
And we're going to produce more.
And in case you guys need a second reminder, don't buy it on eBay, please. I still haven't gotten my physical copy yet, at the time of this recording, just to let you know. I'm not caving in, and neither should you.
Yeah. Mine's on its way, but through Amazon. But But I bought a digital day one, so whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Zelda, Metroid. After that, it gets a little spotty. It could be, honestly, it could go with Mario. You can go Pokemon, Mega Man X. It's kind of like a free for all, but again, it really ties back to a lot of the Super Nintendo games. Like, even SimCity was a game that I played like crazy when I was.
I played a lot of SimCity actually as a kid too. My grandmother loved that game, so I played quite a bit of that too.
Yeah. So, but I mean, primarily for sure, Zelda, Mario, or Zelda, Metroid, and then Mario always has a special place. The core Mario games, I don't deviate too much. Like I don't. Mario at this point is like a jack of all trades, can do anything.
Pretty much.
He's Chris Pratt, bro. He's in everything. You see what I did there?
I play a coin for that one real quick.
Yep.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
I did that one for you, buddy.
Yeah,
but
you sure did, and my thoughts on that probably later or in another episode. But
no, we'll do another episode for sure. We're so hyped for the movie.
Oh my! Well, I mean. Yeah,
and the land. We got so much to talk about.
We got too much to talk about. Not enough time. But
so where are you? What's your games?
I mean, I don't think it's any secret that Mario, is. I mean, for any of you that know me, and especially you, since we're doing this cast together, Mario is just a really big, as a whole, is a really big character and just world that sticks out to me so much, and just really, I gravitate towards it constantly. Like. I just feel a lot of joy and happiness and like composure, and I feel calm, but yet giddy and excited every time I boot up a Mario game that I would, have played or I'm about to play. Like there's just something really, really fun about Mario. But The Legend of Zelda is super impactful to me too. And, despite what I just said now about Mario, maybe an unpopular opinion, maybe agreeable with you, I'm not sure, but I actually think Zelda is a much more impactful franchise than Mario. For the entirety of the company, I think Zelda holds a lot more weight than Mario. Despite Mario being the face of the company, pretty much, I think Zelda holds a lot more weight in that regard.
I think it's, I don't necessarily disagree, but I think it's more of a point of view. I think if you look at people who are like actual Nintendo fans, they'll be like, yes, Zelda stands out more. And because also the problem with Mario that Zelda doesn't have, and for dang sure Metroid doesn't have, is the exposure that Mario gets. Mario has way too much exposure everywhere. That's why I say he's the jack of all trades. Dude can play soccer, tennis, golf.
Be a doctor,
compete against Sonic the Hedgehog in the Olympics. You know what I mean? Like, outside of his racing and board game days, like that's why I said the core games are where it's at. But with Zelda, it's a lot more isolated. It's a lot more, you have these titles and they very rarely deviate to other things. So there isn't a lot. And so I think with some of the...
See me with some Link's crossbow training, bro.
Oh, you don't want that. You don't want that. But yeah, no, I think it's just like, I think the people who've been playing Nintendo for a cool minute, I think like pretty much anyone Ocarina of Time and on, Zelda has an extremely special place in their heart for Nintendo. Sure. Like that's when they think Nintendo, they think that. Like when I go to Nintendo, Super Nintendo World at Universal Studios, that's Mario World, bro. It's not Nintendo because you don't have nobody else. You don't have
not yet.
Not yet. But even then, they're going
to have some Pikmin in there.
Yeah, recently.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
You did some Pikmin in there.
But yeah, I think in that aspect, it's just Mario saturated everywhere. So
yeah, that's fair. I think it just that comment I made on Zelda was probably because like if you had to compare against the other big dogs like from Sony and Microsoft on their PlayStation and Xbox, right? You've got other franchises like Nathan Drake, Uncharted, right? You've got, Halo, Master Chief, and you've got, at the time, Sony exclusive Crash Bandicoot and a couple other franchises, right? All these other big staples, right? Like, what are, like, God of War, right? All these other big franchises that the other two majors have, right? When gamers outside of maybe the passionate Nintendo, like, devoted Nintendo community look at what Nintendo has to offer, I think it's usually Zelda that they'll gravitate towards. Like, I know people that have picked up a Switch just for Breath of the Wild because it's such an impactful game, but also just a really damn good one. So I that's why I kind of give that comment on that. But that's just my take on it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
In that aspect, yeah.
Yeah. Other franchises that really stick out to me, I love Pikmin. Pikmin is so unique. It's different. There really isn't really another game quite like it. You kind of have to play it to, experience it and understand it. But being that I'm a big Nintendo fan and junkie as a whole, like from every aspect of the company, as you'll begin to learn about as you continue to listen to this cast, Miyamoto has stated time and time again that Pikmin would be the next Mario if he had a choice. If there was no Mario, it would be Pikmin. That's his next baby. And I think it's quite clear that Pikmin is his next love outside of Mario. If not, maybe is his actual love, because like you said, Mario is plastered everywhere, and rightfully so. It's a recognizable icon, probably more so than Mickey Mouse, if I'm being honest with you. So, like,
getting there.
Yeah, if Miyamoto had the chance to probably do it all over again, it probably would have been Pikmin. Would it have gone to the success that we're at today? I don't think so. But, I mean, Pikmin has picked up in a lot more traction lately, and I think it's just, a very unique franchise. I mean, you're going to be hearing me saying that word a lot. Unique. But Pikmin... Kirby's cool. I like Kirby when I just need a chillax, not so, brain, exercising, heavy, brain-inducing, game. I just can just mind-numbingly play Kirby and just go, yep, all right, I jumped. Yep, I kicked his butt. Yep, I beat the level. That boss is easy. I'm done. but Kirby's just fun.
I heck a laugh when I played the Kirby game that just came out.
Return to Dreamland Deluxe. Yeah.
And we're in the beginning, it's like, oh, did you want this assistant support guide? I'm like, no thanks. Like,
yeah,
it's already pretty straightforward as it is. Like,
who are you to tell me that I need this? This game's already pretty freaking easy.
Oh man, I got a laugh out of that. It's
kind of like the white Tanuki leaf or Tanuki tail in 3D Land, in 3D World. I'm kind of like, do I need that?
Yeah. Oh, but, super powerful now.
Right. I know, like pretty much all God-like invincible. I think you're kind of getting the point of where I'm going with this. I've pretty much listed almost every staple franchise. I love Splatoon. I love Donkey Kong. The one that I'm also not terribly super keen on, shocker, is Pokemon. And that's because I feel like I didn't get like proper exposure to that franchise. I played the heck out of Red, Blue, Yellow generation, first gen, when I was a kid, but after that, I just felt like it got really complicated for me. I know it's like the baby of RPGs, and I do have Scarlet, and I did play. Yeah. But like, I still feel like it's just, I don't know. There's a lot to do, and I don't know if I have the patience for it at this point in my life. But I love Pokemon, as a franchise. Like I love Pikachu. I can name like a good amount of the Pokemon. I love all the spin-off media. The movies are great. The cartoon, of course, or anime is obviously, childhood. I did watch a lot of that. But I think the point that I'm trying to make here is like, yeah, every franchise speaks to me in some volume or length, whether it be big or small. Each one that has come into my life has really done a number on me, and for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And I think that's just really makes me gravitate towards Nintendo so much, is because they come up with some really darn cool stuff. And even if I'm not playing Splatoon religiously, like some people I know, or just, like others are, it still is a very cool franchise for me, and I still support it. I still love it. And when I pick it up, it's a darn good time. So yeah, that's usually how I go with my games for me with Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, overall, pretty open to a lot of Nintendo titles.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man. I mean, I just want more Metroid.
Hey, well, you know what? I mean,
I'm waiting for Fusion to drop on
Switch or
Switch, Game Boy Advance, because they teased it already. It's coming.
I was kind of hoping that they would give us a Fusion remake. Kind of like, I mean, maybe that's what Mercury Steam's working on. Maybe
Fusion
I don't know.
Remake, or
it was rumored.
Zero Mission remake.
It was rumored at one point. Well, Zero Mission would pretty much just be Metroid 1, pretty much, right? If they were to do a remake, yeah. Either way,
but they added so much more in Zero Mission.
It's true. That's the definitive way to play Metroid 1. Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. It's like very definitive. Even like because it came out after Fusion, a lot of the stuff they introduced in Fusion, they incorporated into that, and then on top of that added more story. That's where they introduced the Zero Suit and all that. So I would love to see even a combo pack of both of them together, just
right.
Or even Super. I don't care. I want all the Metroids.
I just need. We're pretty darn close though to getting all Metroids possible on Switch. I mean, Mario pretty much accomplished that. with 3D All Stars a couple years ago, but we're getting pretty close to having almost every Metroid, if I'm not mistaken. You could play Metroid 1.
The only one we don't... So the Metroid games missing from the Switch is going to be Metroid Fusion, Metroid Pinball, Metroid Prime Hunters, Metroid Prime 2, and Metroid Prime 3.
Well, I
Other
guess
than that, as far as like the main core titles, Metroid 1, the original, Metroid 2, the original, Super Metroid, the original, and now Dread, and now the first Prime. Those are all on
if
there.
you want to play the core 5 games in the series, like the main story, you could play that. You will be able to play that once Fusion releases. You will be able to play that, all of that on Switch.
Yeah. So
and
1,
that's
2,
pretty darn cool.
3, Fusion, and then Dread. Those are your core.
That has me excited because given the amount of attention and love that Metroid's getting, it's cool to think that you can introduce your child or a friend.
Well, look what Prime is doing. Like,
I know.
It's super like introduced. Like, I've been reading so many tweets. Like, people are like, why did I not play this? I'm like, because you were, deep in PlayStation or something, at that
You were
time.
so out of it. The game was so ahead of its time, and it's
It
even
was super.
better now, even. I mean, it visually looks like incredible. It's a marvel. I mean, you were talking earlier about what, they haven't done it as the full potential on the Switch. I think this is a pretty darn clear indicator of that. Like, this is a good step in that direction to show, if you were to actually give a developer, if they were to actually truly passionately care about developing a good game on this console, you absolutely could. Prime and Remastered and Breath of the Wild and other games like that prove it. So, yeah.
Well,
man.
I think too, I feel, just since we're on the subject very briefly, I think too, Metroid Prime, not only did they put effort, it wasn't a half-assed job.
Right.
I think it was also just a test. I feel like the game itself was pleasing fans,
Yes.
of course, but also it was a way for them to test not only the fan base, but the quality assurance of the game itself with
Prime 4.
For Prime 4. I really do, because, originally Prime 4 was in development, was going horrible. They scrapped it, brought back Retro Studios.
Which they should have done from the get-go.
Yeah,
Just throwing that
so
out there.
they've been working on it. We now know they've also been low-key working on this remaster as
Maybe
well.
2 and 3 as well. Maybe.
Hopefully.
I'm literally crossing both my fingers.
I would
and my
love
pinky
3
toes.
because I didn't play 3. I hated the Wii remotes. I couldn't do it.
It's a great game. Prime 3 is great.
I have the Prime trilogy. I can't do the Wii remote. The thing, again, that's a whole nother thing, but the thing with me with the Wii itself is that it wasn't accurate.
Yeah.
It was sensor based, where it works
It was
best
point and
on
click.
Yeah, but it had a sensor that did it, where if you played other point and click games like the like old shooting games like Winback and stuff like that,
Sure.
they actually, because TVs were older,
Yeah.
CTVs, they actually plugged into the auto video, so wherever you aimed,
Yeah.
it was dead on 110% accurate.
Sure.
Where this, it was more of a sensor. So if anything got in the way or disrupted that frequency in the line of sight, it messed you up. And
Hey, man.
that's what I was experiencing a lot when I played Metro.
Hey, man, just go pop open Prime Trilogy and put it on a CRT right now. There you go.
It still uses the Wii U. Oh, well, the the third one isn't on there. The third one's on Wii.
Well, Prime Trilogy was on Wii, so you could pop your Prime Trilogy on your Wii on a CRT.
That's what I'm saying. But it would be the same thing. It wouldn't make a difference. Because the video, the controller, the gun controller plugged into the actual video hookup.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm taking it way back, bro. Before your time.
Hey, let's not pick on me too much here. I know my history. I know my stuff. Like, see, that's the thing. Is like I'm young, but I know my history. I know my stuff, and I'm open to learning new things. But I mean, I'm not oblivious or anything like that. Like, it's like,
I'm just playing.
Wait, that's an NES? No way. What is that? Wait, you're telling me that's a TV? No way.
So what I'm hearing is I gotta do some tests with Greg on video game consoles. What is it without him seeing it beforehand? He'd be like, obviously it can't be Nintendo because he knows what Nintendos are, but other consoles.
This is going to be a video, like a side content episode that you can find on our YouTube channel, which we'll plug more of our socials later. More to come, of course, but that is a cool idea. Maybe you could put me to the full test. That'd be neat.
Test you out, man.
Yeah, man. I think just all of this just kind of just goes to show, like, Nintendo has impacted us all one way or another, whether it's the franchise, the console, the experiences that come from, a launch. Like you mentioned a little bit about Wii U and your thoughts on that, but it's like things of that nature, Nintendo just has nailed to a D, and I think they know it best, especially, of course, because they're the ones that drive this ship forward every day that we continue to play Nintendo games. I think, I'd love to know what memory or what experience or what time in history has there ever been something that Nintendo has done that's really made you go like wow, or has stuck with you like a core memory for talking like inside out language, core memory, right?
Honestly, for me, it's going back. I mean, there's quite a few, but I think the biggest one that I always remember, and for whatever reason, like my memory's not too great, but for whatever reason, I don't forget this, and it's we always had. Eventually got to a point where like the newer consoles were in our bedrooms, PlayStation 1, 64, GameCube.
Sure.
And in our garage, that's kind of where we put all the old stuff. So this is where I kick myself in the butt, thinking back like as a kid, like, man, I should have been putting this in better stuff. So preserve it. Yeah, but still, I mean, I still have my Super from then. It just looks very yellow, but it still works. It still works. But it's going into the garage. We had a little setup that my dad had put together where we used to live long time ago. And I think at that time, too, my younger brother, he was like probably a little bit younger than my youngest son right now. Mm-hmm. And I just remember going in the garage and we'd just be there for hours. And we're sitting there playing just every Super Nintendo game you can think of, man. Scooby-Doo, Ren and Stimpy. Like I said, the main ones, Mario, All-Stars.
TMNT.
Metroid, TMNT, Turtle in Time. Super Metroid. God, I'm trying to think. Mortal Kombat. I said Bats because I had like all three of them. Mm-hmm. God, I'm just trying to think what's in my garage right now of all my old Super Nintendo games.
Right.
Super Double Dragon, Battletoads. I mean, you name it. Like, I don't have a big collection, but I have a lot. And back then we had rentals, go to Hollywood Video or, we had a local mom and pop shop.
I had rentals too. Back up.
I didn't mean that. I wasn't directing that to you. I'm directing to the listeners. Who knows who's listening.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay. I don't know, man.
I'm speaking to. I wasn't even looking at you. I was looking over here at my collectible of Christian Bale.
Hey, can you blame me though? I mean, you're always giving me the run for my money and picking on me and stuff like that. Any opportunity you get. So maybe I'm just so adjusted to it. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll uncondition that.
We're going to have to. We're going to do this podcast together.
Oh, my God. But, man. So, it's just those memories. It's those memories of just being in the garage, whether it's my cousins or my younger brother, and we're just chilling, playing Super Nintendo. Mm-hmm. And, even with the PlayStation in the bedroom or, Nintendo 64, I think it was getting close to the time of PlayStation 2 was finally dropping, like even up till then. Mm-hmm. That's Super Nintendo. And then on top of that, not only did we do that there at my house, but then when I went to my grandparents' house when they were both alive and the family always got together, what did we do in my grandparents' garage? Boom, Super Nintendo. And just always, I'd take all my games, and there we are, the entire family. So those are just memories because those are memories that I'm glad I remember them, but I know I will never live them again. And what hurts me the most is a lot of kids today will never
have an experience like that.
Because not only is the social relationships, family relationships so different now that games are different. Like you need internet, you need download, you need this, you need that. You got social media, you got YouTubers. I mean, granted, we are doing a podcast. This is where we're trying to be unique and different, where it's doesn't feel so much like all those people, but like. They're the influence now. They're the ones that, hey, I don't like this game. And these little kids are gullible, even adults for that matter. They're like, oh, I don't want that game because, super awesome 361
said so.
Purple hair man said it's crap. Right. And you're just like, cool, you just totally neglected a game that potentially you might like and neglected all the hard work that these people put into this game. So, I mean, that's a whole nother topic in its own, but that's the thing. It's like, it saddens me. They will never get to experience this.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I don't think, I'll just be honest. I don't think it's necessarily maybe right or wrong for us to say. I say right or wrong because it could just be, that's just our perspective. But I don't think it's right or wrong to say that their experiences that they have today aren't as memorable as the way we had them. But what you're saying is like the actual experience itself is so vastly different. It's
dramatically.
Because there are a lot more pieces to it now than it used to be before. You just pop in a cartridge and you go. And guess what? You can still do that on your Nintendo Switch today. You pop in a cartridge and boom, there you go. Yeah. You play the game. You don't need excessive updates or internet connection. They're offered today, but you don't need them. Like, period. You could just pop in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate on your Switch right now, and there you go. Oh, and I forgot to shout that out earlier too. That's a huge franchise. I know.
I didn't bring it up. I was like, you didn't say it. Okay,
I didn't say it, but yeah, now I got more thoughts to say. But another time, we'll dedicate a whole episode to my experience with Smash Brothers. But anyhow, what I really think is like, I mean, what you're saying also correlates to me too. Like, I mean, that I feel that as well because I've had plenty of moments where I've had friends come over and we're just playing Smash 64, Diddy Kong Racing, Mario Party 4 through 6 on GameCube, and it's just like you're just there in the moment, and all that matters is you, your friends, and your loved ones, your family that are next to you, laughing and smiling alongside with you as you listen to "Hello, thank you so much for playing my game" like on the TV, and you're just like, This is great. Like I love this. Yeah, and nothing brought me more joy than that. But yeah, like what you're saying is like there's just so many more pieces that, oh no, if I don't have a subscription, I can't enjoy this game. Oh no, if I don't have a headset, I can't talk to my friends. Oh my gosh, shocker. What if you just went next door or went over to go play with them, right? Yeah. So I mean, I don't want to discredit that what they're experiencing is like good, because I mean what they have. Yeah, well, look, I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt because it's what they know.
See, right? The thing is, I have kids, so that's another difference between you and I that the listeners can relate to. Is I have two kids, a teenager and one that's almost going to be a teenager in a couple years here, and seeing what they're playing, seeing what they're into, and the way they go about it. I'm not going to lie, and I will say this to my kid's face, and my wife will probably be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that." But I don't care. I'm really disappointed in their game selection choices, specifically my oldest child. My young one, he tries to gravitate to me. So like earlier, he was hanging out with us, and what was he doing? Playing Mario Maker and trying to create levels. So,
literally on the couch right next to me.
So he's pretty close to where the realm that I play. Like he tries to be involved as much as he can, which is super awesome. Right. But the other one, like, he's like doing games that I don't, it's not that I don't get it. It's just, I don't see the value. Like to me, gaming, and I don't want to get too into it because this could be its own topic in its own, but to me, there's so much more value in video games than what non-gamers see, whether they see it as violence, whether they see it like, oh, you're learning how to shoot and do bad things to people, or you're just wasting your life, wasting time. Like there's so much more value. Like I learned, me being a Mexican-American first generation, my parents couldn't speak a lick of English. So I had to teach myself a lot of English, me and my older brother. And one of the big things that helped me through school and stuff was video games. Like Pokemon helped me with a lot of math, reading, decision-making, cause and effect. I know this isn't necessarily Nintendo, but Zelda had a lot of reading, but like Final Fantasy on PlayStation, Final Fantasy 7 and 8 had a lot of reading, a lot of decision-making. So there's a lot of value is what I'm getting at with gaming. There's something you can take away from it outside of just mindless fun that some games can be. And that's where I feel a lot of today's games are. It's mindless fun, money with microtransactions or whatever. Like my son plays a lot of Roblox that really irritates me. I'm going to be really blunt. I'm not a fan of that. But like there's a lot of things now, and then formulating your own opinion. Like you can't just, hey, I'm going to take a chance with this game. I'm going to see what it's about. If I like it, great. If I don't like it, I don't like it. Now it's so much more of like, oh no, this person said it's bad, so I'm not even going to give it.
And it's okay because we've gotten games. I'm sure, like I've gotten games in the past that weren't, always a winner, and that's all right. But there's still an experience to be had with that. But to kind of take all of what you said and just bring it right back around full circle, there's a reason why we're doing this cast, and the Dokusou Cast is unique, which is a Nintendo centric, discussion place for all that kind of good stuff. And Nintendo is the one that still, to this day, in the modern era of 2023, at the time of this recording, I firmly believe is still capturing those things.
Yeah.
It still allows that to happen. And I think, 120 million units is not, any indicator of, oh, we're doomed. It's still very much there. But yeah, I mean, I love what we're able to, achieve with Nintendo platforms and services and games, and how we're able to, still, at our point in our lives, share and showcase that to, our next generation, our children, our loved ones and such, which, like you said, your youngest one was just hanging out with us playing Mario Maker. Like, that's pretty darn cool in my eyes. So
yeah. No, and I agree. And that's why of all the topics we had, Nintendo was the focus one, because it still continues to challenge, be unique and create new moments. And at the same time, keep its foundation still there. They're not, leaning into, oh, we got to adapt to all the new business models. Like, no, this works for us. The intent is to connect, play with each other. Like you said earlier, be inclusive, be diverse. Like, that's Nintendo.
Little secret that I know, or maybe not so much a secret, but I actually have some pretty cool friends that I've met over the years that do work for the bright red company we know as Nintendo. And some things that I've just kind of picked up on is that their really big focus is to make smiles happen, put smiles on others. And I think that's actually quite literally like their credo, or like their quote that they live by, like, their mission statement, that's a really big thing. So, I mean, even if, the world or the market had, put them in a bind to where they had to be forced to make a decision in order to stay relevant or in business, they still would do it in a way that's very much, the Nintendo way.
Yep.
Dokusou. So, yeah, I mean, thank you for, telling me your thoughts and your experience with that kind of impact on, how Nintendo's impacted your life. Yeah, I mean, I relate a lot to that too, in a similar regard. I think for me with Nintendo, it's impacted me, a lot through Smash Brothers. I'll touch on it a little bit. And that's probably why I actually didn't mention it, because I think I was actually saving this franchise, to mention towards this piece right here, as I was already thinking ahead about what we were going to talk about. But Smash Brothers, really did shape, the direction that I wanted to go into, for, my development as a person, my, interest in, hobbies, passions, creativity, my career. And it really started with, being exposed and learning about the competitive Smash community. And that started really all around the Wii U era in 2014. And after witnessing their E3, pre-E3 tournament that they had, where they invited pro players to play, as I look back at it now, a very, very casual Smash tournament. Items on, a bunch of jank, and a bunch of whatever going on. It's so hard to keep up. Yeah, it's just meant to showcase the game. But little did I know that even a competitive scene existed, right? So, let alone, it being as large as it is today, right? It is one of the biggest esports you can watch on Twitch right now, which is really cool. Melee and Ultimate specifically. But seeing that and having that moment made me go, I want to do this. And not even just I want to compete. I wanted to compete. I wanted to play. But knowing my skill level at the time, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to keep up with these guys. There's no way. Even amongst my friends that were in my immediate circle, I'm like, nope, I can't do it. So I set out to, set up my own events, my own tournaments. And it actually just started in the comfort of my own home. I was still living with my parents. I was still a teenager when all this happened, right? So I just invited, locals from my school over and stuff like that. But then eventually it had to all transition to where a friend of mine who was working at our Mountain Mike's Pizza Parlor in town was like, hey, what you been up to? And I'm like, I'm trying to run a Smash tournament. Never done it before, but it should be fun. And he's like, well, we just renovated all of our space in the back room. We have a bunch of open tables. You want to do it here? I'm like, yeah, duh. This is way more space than a little tiny loft or living room in my parents' house. Please, more people the merrier. I think that'd be sick. Word of mouth quickly got out, and I had at my first ever tournament that I ever tried hosting, about 55 people in attendance in that bracket.
Damn.
And within not the first one, because I decided I'm going to do a second one. I'm going to do it a month later though, because I wanted to make it bigger, And surely enough, it was bigger. I think we had like 65 or 70 people at that time. The second event that I hosted, I met someone who's a very now dear close friend of mine. His name's Andre, he goes by the name Chokenator. That's his gaming alias. That's a whole different story on how that name came to be. But Chokenator, Andre, he was the one that not only ended up winning the bracket that we had that day, but he was the one that kind of gave me the true exposure to what it meant to be competitive. Because my brackets, looking back at them now, they were extremely casual. I had items on. I had a timer set. There weren't really stocks. It was just kind of like whatever, So when he came and enlightened me with what really was out there, like not to knock casual Smash play by any means. In fact, that's actually the reason why Smash is as popular as it is today, and I love that game for that very reason. The casual play and what the game was designed to be, I love it. But showing me up close where the competitive players from that E3 tournament came from, that community, really did make me go, oh, this is how it's done. This is even bigger. This is cool. Like a big arena in Las Vegas, EVO, that's hosting a once-a-year championship around the world where everybody comes together to play this game. Heck yeah, I want in on this. So I was hosting Smash tournaments for approximately almost at this point, maybe 10 years. And, if you exclude the last couple, because I did eventually stop because of pandemic issues and things like that. So about 8 years, give or take. But I've met people along the way that really did become some of the closest friends, that I've ever met in my life, and also networking with different kinds of people that have given me, invites to certain events. I recently got to go to Super Nintendo World for a media press day event before the park had opened. I've been invited to E3 by Nintendo to go check out, their booth and everything, and check out the whole expo for 3 years in a row. But not just because of those benefits, but because of those people that are tied to this game, that are tied to that community of Nintendo at large. It made me realize that Nintendo fans and Nintendo influencers, to kind of, attach to what you were saying earlier about, big, influencers and, big exposure, super guy, 67, blah, 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 purple hair, whatever, right? Very descriptive, by the way. I couldn't have said it better myself. But Nintendo's influencers and community is very tight-knit, niche, but passionate and family-driven and sincere and very unique. So it made me go, this is where I want to be. I don't know if I want to be hosting Smash tournaments for the rest of my life, but if it weren't for Super Smash Brothers, I would not have found the path that I'm on right now, the career and the job that I have right now, the
exposure that you gain from it.
Exactly. And the realization of, public speaking, communications, marketing in a tech or gaming field is absolutely what I would love to do. Because I realized by doing those Smash tournaments and by getting involved in these communities and going to these events, E3, EVO, and stuff like that, I love talking about the things I'm passionate about. And Smash Brothers and Nintendo fans are no different in that regard, because when you bring all those people together, what do you want to talk about? The very thing that everybody loves so much. And
the reason you're there.
That's the reason I'm there. And I'm just really grateful for that game's existence and for the people that I've met, along the way. I can't name all of you here at once, but I mean, if you're listening to this and you know who I am, then you know I'm talking about you. I'm really grateful for that game, for that period of time, that those consecutive years in a row that were revolved around that game, and things following up after that. Just the hype trailers, the launches, the release, the events, all of it. It was just so impactful for me, and it brought me to right here to this moment, doing a podcast with a dear friend of mine that also loves Nintendo just as much as me. So just come around full circle. I love it. That's the impact Nintendo's had on me in one moment, because there's many, but that's I probably would say is the most impactful.
That's amazing, man. Like that's a very awesome journey and take. And again, it's keep saying it, but it's a very unique perspective on what Nintendo, how it's impacted you,
Sure.
and all the others that you've done. Like I said earlier, you know, what I experienced as a kid with Nintendo family and whatnot, some friends and stuff, they're not experiencing now, but like tournaments and stuff. Yeah. Like that was a thing that was huge. And granted, the pandemic totally set everything back, but getting back to it, or even just every once in a while, like it's amazing how much people gravitate towards this property, towards this brand, towards this community. I mean, you know, not too long ago at my current job, I hosted a little mini event for Pokemon.
Yeah.
And that was a good turnout. Like there was a good amount of people, and like a lot of people who showed up were the fans of Pokemon. And
So
again,
fun raffle, fun get together, fun exposure to just come together and show what you love.
and that's it, man. Like, and that's what I love, to bring it, you know, full circle and to wrap it up here in a few moments. Like, that's what I love about Nintendo, its community and its fan base, is that you don't hear, oh, you're a Nintendo fanboy, or, oh, Nintendo this, like you would hear from Xbox people or PlayStation people. Like,
Right.
it's my way or the highway with them, where Nintendo, it's like
You just
forever.
wanna play the game.
It's diverse, inclusive. Like
Right.
everyone, that whether you have all the video game consoles or you only have a PlayStation or only have an Xbox, chances are you also have a Switch.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and that's the uniqueness of that console, is that, you know, you tell people like, well, why don't you have all the consoles? Like, well, these two do the exact same thing, play the same games, minus a few exclusives. Nintendo doesn't. It's its own thing. That's why I have that as a companion, or maybe it's my primary and I have the other consoles as companions.
Exactly.
You know, but yeah, man.
I think to kind of wrap it up here nicely, the theme of everything has definitely been unique in perspective and whatnot, right? Hence the name, the Dokusou Cast, right? But something that really struck out to me before we even started, and it was just a couple moments before we even hit the record button, I got to thinking about a quote that Miyamoto actually said. I don't remember how long ago it's been, but it's stuck with me for so long since I've read it and heard it. But I have it right here, and it says, Nintendo's philosophy is never to go the easy path. It's always to challenge ourselves and to try to do something new. I wanted to make something very unique, something very different. Those are the words of Shigeru Miyamoto. And I think that just kind of sums up everything nicely here. I mean, all of you listening have, you know, kind of gotten a quick dive into, you know, what our exposure to Nintendo has been, how we, you know, sort of feel about, you know, the games that we're playing, and what's to come and what has been. And, you know, I think that this is just such a different, but exciting kind of, you know, community to be a part of. And I'm glad that we're going to be, you know, here for you guys to continue listening in and being a part of, you know, our, you know, exposure to Nintendo and its community at large. And, you know, we want to, you know, deliver some really awesome things for you guys. You know, I mean, there's more content and things to come too. So I guess to also kind of plug this here, we also have some really cool socials that you could check out. We've got, it's Dokusou Cast on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at the moment as well. You can check out those platforms there, and I'm sure we'll be able to find a way to link them somewhere down here attached to the cast for you to check out. But more to come. We definitely want to do some really cool, like, you know, gameplay, you know, reactions, trailer reactions, directs, right? The Nintendo directs are a huge popping thing for Nintendo fans, and of course us alike. So we'd love to give you some exposure to that, and do some cool little, you know, fun side things like the one you were mentioning about, you know, quizzing me on my Nintendo trivia and hardware. Like, oh, does Greg actually know this? Spoiler alert, yes, I do. I'm not that oblivious. No. I swear, Rick will poke at me, you know, a lot. But I just to wrap everything up, you know, if you made it this far, thank you so much for listening in. And I'm really excited for what's to come. Rick, you know, thanks for, you know, giving me the, you know, the courage to kind of kickstart this. And I honestly feel like this is just the bright, you know, clear indicator that this is the start of a bright future ahead of us for this cast.
Yeah. I'm really excited. And like I said at the very beginning, you know, I think this has been a long time coming. We've had so many discussions, like you've already alluded to, great debates. I know sometimes I trolled you deliberately.
Too much.
For the most part, I was in the same state of mind, same side as you. But the times I weren't, like, it generated some really good insight and a really good conversation. So that's something to look forward to. You're not going to be getting a podcast with two hosts where we're, you know, bought into the same thing. There could be times where we disagree, and we'll have a very constructive way of expressing, our thoughts. So that way, if you feel the same way as Greg, great. If you feel the same way as me, great. If you feel the same way as both of us, fantastic.
Even better.
So, but definitely stay tuned. We definitely want to do a lot of things with this cast. I'm genuinely super excited. Stick around with us, continue this, unique creative journey that we're on, because as we continue to do these episodes, the more we grow, the more we learn, the more we level up, and the better it gets.
We need a 1-up sound. Yeah. We need to get that on deck for next time. But guys, thank you once again for tuning in. This is going to wrap it up for the evening. If you like what you're hearing, and if you like what you I guess if you like what you're hearing, we don't have anything to show off yet. So if you like what you're seeing, if you like what you hear, just be sure to give us a follow and stay tuned in for our more episodes and content to come. But my name's Greg.
Yep, my name's Rick. I don't know if we said that in the beginning.
No, I would hope you know by now. But we will catch you guys next time.
Yep. With that, I'll leave you with the switch click.